Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 60 of Makai-World Reviews. It is I, the Tono Makai, Master of Minds and Men. We're going to continue this month of video game movies where we look at the 1995 adaptation of the legendary fighting game, Mortal Kombat. Will it be a Double Dragon or Super Mario Brothers? God, what a chart, what a scope. Those aren't that far away from each other. Or maybe it can be even better, who knows? I do. So let's find out. But of course, please like, please subscribe. I wish I to improve, and if I've entertained you at all, and I mean even a little bit, you are obligated to click that button if you are entertained at all. Thank you. Alright, Mortal Kombat, directed by Paul Anderson, not Paul Thomas Anderson. Let's not confuse those two. This guy did Event Horizon, Soldier, Alien vs. Predator, lots and lots of Resident Evil movies. I mean, he's not the worst director, a bit below average in general, but he's married to Milla Jovovich, so he's winning this game. Written by Kevin Zroney, a writer on Jake and the Fat Man, the Highlander TV show, and this. Not really much to say about that guy. Starring Robin Shou, something of a Hong Kong action star with lots of fairly run-of-the-mill kung fu movies. Then he did this, its sequel, and Beverly Hills Ninja, and I'll be honest, that killed any real movement on his acting career, doing nothing of any real note after that. And Christopher Lambert. I love this guy. He was Connor McLeod in Highlander. It doesn't really matter if he did anything else. Frankly, he's Connor McLeod, but he has done other stuff, but none of them were Highlander. Release date, August 18th, 1995. This came out essentially for my birthday, which is 2 days later, and I was so excited as a kid. What came out the same week? The Babysitter's Club, the movie. Now, this, as a rule, sounds awful, but it really wasn't that bad. It has been a while, but I recall my sister liking The Babysitter's Club, and I saw this. It wasn't, terrible. I genuinely wish I could make fun of it. And Jeffrey. Steven Weber and Michael T. Weiss, our homosexual couple, have to deal with Michael having HIV. Actually, a pretty good movie, surprisingly well done, and for the time, mature in talking about its subject matter. Patrick Stewart was fantastic in this. These two movies as a whole sound awful but aren't. Shocker. So the plot, we follow the Mortal Kombat story essentially the same as the first game or so. We meet our heroes, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage, who will end up entering this hidden, premier and deadly martial arts tournament for various reasons. Liu to avenge his brother because the big bad Shang Tsung killed his brother and took his soul. That's what he does. Sonya wants to catch a career criminal and Mad Max reject in Kano, and Johnny wants to prove he isn't just an actor. Along the way, they meet the other various colorful cast of characters you might be familiar with, their mentor and guide, Raiden, as well as helpful Katana, who has a thing for Liu, but also the bad guys in Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Goro, and even Reptile. The heroes fight their way through a vaguely sensible tournament, all the while trying to figure out what the evil Shang Tsung is up to. Things break down after much fighting, in which all of the interesting bad guys are killed in increasingly stupid ways. Shang realizes he might not win, so cheats, kidnaps Sonya, and forces Liu into an inevitable endgame where Liu beats Shang, releasing his brother's soul, as well as many others. Everyone rejoices until Shang Tsung's boss shows up, setting up a sequel no one wants to mention. Let's talk about the pros. The movie is dumb fun of the highest order. It's really a pretty breezy movie that doesn't take itself too seriously or anything in it too seriously. And that's to its detriment in some ways. While most of the humor doesn't land, none of it is really eye-rolling, but the comedy stuff with Goro and Johnny's fight really makes that character kind of come off as stupid and non-threatening. But really, it's just supposed to be an entertaining movie, and it is. This goes hand in hand with the pacing, which is fairly consistent without too much lag. I'll talk about the scenes I didn't like, but virtually none of it was boring, which is something important in a movie like this. They also have lots of callbacks to the games, lots of stuff that remind me of the games, which is, well, important. They kept the cast pretty tight. They hinted at other characters to come, but didn't overdo it. They didn't bloat, which is easy to do and often done nowadays, movies like this. And this really is emphasized in the introduction of each character, which saved Raiden and Kano really got cool intros to give them some feel for who they are, why they're here, and what they're doing. We knew right away the heroes' motivations. While I don't love Scorpion and Sub-Zero's roles in this as cannon fodder and henchmen, they got a badass introduction. The director in Johnny's intro looks like Steven Spielberg, which was intended to be Steven Spielberg, but he couldn't make it. The sets are great, save Outworld, but everything else, but that breathes. It seems like a real place. We have apartments, movie sets, docks, boats, beaches, great hills, Chinese monasteries. I enjoyed the variety. They had to keep the scenes moving and fill in like the games with different places everyone was fighting at. They didn't really look like the game worlds. The idea was there. Outworld sucked, though, and it felt like a set. The casting, not the hiring, the casting, not the acting. The casting is really superb. All these characters look, and to one extent or another, act like the characters they are supposed to be. Kirihiro Yukich as Shang Tsung was by far and the best representation of the character from the games, and while Christopher Lambert sort of phoned it in, he was head and shoulders the best actor of everyone, to take that for what it was. But most of them got their moment to shine, for better or worse. Johnny was the funniest guy, once again for better or worse. Liu had the best fight scene. Sonya was appropriately tough, gruff, and the sharpest eyebrows. Sub-Zero had the overall best moments when he was facing down a guy. There was this like Indiana Jones sort of scene, where he shoots the guy with the swords. Sub-Zero did that, froze this dude after he was like flexing, throwing shadow punches and kicks, and then bam, frozen and dead. This one is a good and bad, so that's why it's at the end of the goods. And that's the fight scene. Some are good. Almost all of Liu Kang's, in particular, the last one with Shang Tsung, was excellent, and his brief one with Sub-Zero was good. Sonya's with Kano was good, and there were some interesting ones in between. But beyond that, they were quick and not very good. The fight time... First time we see Sonya fight on the island, she's wearing, like, skin-tight pants and boots, and is moving in slow motion. I don't blame her, but it looks bad. Every single one of Johnny's fights were bad. He was supposed to be outthinking his opponents, but it really came off as wasting Scorpion and Goro. One punch and kick took down Goro, who was used to looking really stupid, and Scorpion's didn't make sense. Why did he burst into flames? From his own blood. What indication did he have that he would catch fire? Yeah, some really hit or miss stuff there. Now, the cons, I want to make a public apology for what I said last week. I take back absolutely everything I said about Double Dragon CGI. I was wrong. Their CGI was so much better than Mortal Kombat's, as it's offensively bad here. It didn't even look close to being slightly reasonable. It was horrific. I thought Double Dragons was bad? No, not at all. That looked like Jurassic Park to this nonsense. Reptile's reptile form was so bad, he looked like Gex the Gecko. None of it looked good. Thankfully, it was kept to a minimum, as the practical effects were pretty good. Though Goro, while it looked good, was a little awkward, but that's due to the nature of the character, like the design. The acting was awful, just categorically, outside of, once again, Kirihiro Yuki Tagawa and Christopher Lambert, who, as I said, didn't even try. Everyone was crap. Katana was the worst. She was wooden, stiff, uncomfortable, and the main three were campy and not necessarily in a good way, as they had little to no chemistry with each other, especially Johnny and Sonya, who they teased like a romance, but those two barely looked at each other. Not to mention, they slutted Sonya up in the third act for the end fight, and I hated it. She was presented as tough and cool, and suddenly she's in like this slutty dress. Why not have Katana, who was forming a relationship with Liu, get kidnapped instead? That would make more sense to me. The third act in general had some pacing issues. In fact, as soon as they hit Outworld, it turned into a bit of a mess. It was like they used the whole budget before they got to the end of the movie. They had to hastily throw something together. The final fight between Liu and Shang was really good, but beyond that, the look and feel of everything was piss poor in that last part. The editing was awkward with weird swiping transitions that took me out of scenes. Mentioned how I like how they had lots of different sets, which felt like the game, but getting to each of them felt really strange. A scene would happen, and like a weird star wipe would happen, and we'd just be having another scene. There was no natural fluid transitions. It came off very, very strange. And this is a strange gripe. But there was lots of wasted food, lots of full food setups that were ruined. Kano was throwing uneaten giant turkey legs around. It was a very wasteful movie that bothers me, and I don't know why. Flagrant waste of delicious-looking island food. No, sir, I don't like that. The soundtrack. Now, I'm going to starting with this episode, talk about soundtracks when applicable. I probably won't be doing it next month for reasons that you'll find out. And I started off with a great one, as this was a banger after banger. We had George Clinton, KMFDM, Typo Negative, Fear Factory, Buckethead, Sister Machine Gun, Orbital, Tracy Lords. Just stuff in the mid-90s that was exceptionally interesting. Lots of industrial, electronic metal. Really good soundtrack that didn't all fit the movie, but it's one I definitely had as a kid. Like, I had this on CD. Superb soundtrack. Overall, Mortal Kombat was my favorite of the three video game movies I'd watched thus far. Far away from Super Mario Bros., still a good bit ahead of Double Dragon. It was more exciting, and stakes felt higher. The enemies felt competent and like an actual threat for the most part. It walked that line between being totally child-friendly and being a little bit for teenagers, much like the games themselves. Had a myriad of issues, much like all of these films, but what it lacked in, being a good movie, it made up for in being an entertaining fan service, which is all we really want out of a film like this. Well, that was Mortal Kombat. What did you think of my review? Did you like the movie? Are you a fan of the video games? Which one was your favorite? What about favorite character? Be honest with you, I like Smoke a lot, and with the newer ones I play Noob Saibot because I still remember all the controls are the same. Like that down-up bullshit move. But let me know down below. And also, please like, comment, subscribe, get my Patreon, let me know what you want me to review. Also, please check out my Instagram for daily Twin Peaks memes and my podcast, Dark Peaks Podcast. Put in Dark Peaks Podcast into your YouTube machine and you'll find it. Also, it's on various other podcast platforms. Next week, I can't do Mortal Kombat without its contemporary. So, of course, next week, final video game movie month review. Look at 1994's Street Fighter. This has been the Tono Makai, Master of Minds and Men. Thank you very much, and goodbye.